it's Michelle from the Scattered Scrapper. Welcome to my channel. Today is day 17 of Scrap-O-WEEN and it is Sketchy Monday. I'm going to be using this Page Maps sketch right here kind of as a base for my page today. I had planned to follow it fairly closely, but then I found in my stash, in my kit, this scene paper, and it goes perfectly with the decorations of our house. Oh, this is from 2000, I don't have it on the back, 2009, and we had all these different tombstones with funny little sayings on them. So I'm going to use this paper and a few little guides from the sketch. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is cut the branding strip off of this Simple Stories paper. And I think it came from Say Cheese Halloween. And this one comes from Say Cheese Halloween as well. I like this orange with the black bats on it. And I'm going to use that paper as the main background paper underneath my photo. But my photo is kind of blending in a little too much, so I'm going to use this white paper with the black spider webs on it to map my photo with. And I just cut the 1/4 inch, so it's 4 1/4 and 6 1/4 to give me a nice thin border around my photo. And now I'm trying to figure out how big I want to make my background paper. I don't want to cover up the haunted house that's already on the paper, and I want to have enough room so that you can really see this orange paper with bats, so you know what it is. So I don't want to cut it down too small. And I have some other things that I want to do above my photo, so I don't want it to be too tall either. So it's a balancing act. So I finally get it decided how I want my paper to be and kind of where I want it to be on my paper. And this paper I'm going to use to make my scallop. So if you see on the sketch, there's a scalloped element. And I'm thinking, oh, this stripe is going to look really cool. But I don't have a big scallop punch. So I'm using this Creative Memories circle cutter template things that I have. And I start out doing it on the wrong side of the paper. You can still see the lines even when I erase them. So I don't fold it. I flip it over and I make my circles on the back side. And I'm just kind of lining it up on the inside here and making my circle. And what I should have done was actually overlap my circles, because when I cut this out, it's where the circles meet is a little too deep. And I'm showing you here that if you don't have the Creative Memories things, you can use just a washi roll, the washi tape roll, and trace that, or any round object or circular object you can use in order to make you a scalloped edge. Now here I'm going to cut it out, and you're going to see that it goes down way too far, so that when I stick it up under my picture, it just looks weird. And also, for it to look right, it would have to stick out from under the picture too high, and it all around just does not look right. I'm not happy with it. And also, the stripes don't look right. It just looks silly. I just don't like it at all. Look at it already. I'm like looking at that going, oh, I'm going to put it under there, but it just looks so bad. Oh my gosh. If it had been small stripes, a bunch of small stripes, I think it would have looked fine. But this is just, no, get rid of that quick. There we go. So instead I'm going to use this little, this gray paper with these little ghosts on it. And I had overlapped the circles so that when I cut them out, the scallop was not so deep. And I think that looks so much better. Now here I'm using some Distress Oxide ink in, where is it? It is not Speckled Egg, Hickory Smoke. You would think I would remember that. And I'm inking up the sides of these tombstones that I cut out with some dies that I have. And I wanted to give them a little bit more weathered look to them, and it looks great. Only problem is that once the ink dries, it's basically the same color as the paper, so it doesn't look quite as great now as it did when I very first put the ink on. So if y'all have any tips or any other ink that's kind of a darker gray than the Hickory Smoke, let me know. Let me know down in the comments. Okay, so now I'm going to be using this sticker from the sticker sheet from Happy Haunting, and it just says Fright Night because this picture was taken on October 31st. And it is a picture of our front yard, like I was saying before, where we'd put a bunch of tombstones with funny sayings on them. And originally I said it was from 2009 because we did the same thing in 2009, but this one is actually from last year. The tombstones from 2009 didn't last very long, so I had to make new ones, and these are the new ones. And I don't know why I did not realize that at first, because I've got the big elephant ears by my stairs, and Mr. Pumpkinhead is in the front yard, and in 2009 we didn't have either of those things. So, don't know why I did not notice that. But here I'm seeing about putting some washi tape up at the top that's kind of where those little pumpkins are that are at the top to represent the little tiny cluster that's there. But I decide I don't like either one of those. So I'm going to look through my die cuts. And there on the bottom I have a label to put some journaling. And I have one of my tombstone die cuts there, and also a little metal piece from Tim Holtz, and it says, "In secret between shadow and soul lies unseen magic to behold." And I really like just this added texture with the metal on there. And here I'm just going through and trying to see what kinds of things I might want to use. And instead of having a cluster on the top right, I'm going to make mine be on the top left. So I'm going through and I'm looking for things that I could use to build up a cluster. And I like this circular die cut with 31 in the middle, and it just says All Hallows Eve all the way around. And I find this little arrow that says spooky, and I'm just going through and seeing, is there anything else? And I find this little tab that is gray, and I like that better up there, and it gives me a spot to put my date. So my title is Fright Night, and I'm going to put my date up at the top. And I put 09 up there. But I figure out, oh wait, it's not 09. And I do fix it and put 2000 up there. So here I'm going to go ahead and start putting my die cuts down, and I pop this little owl up on some really thin foam. And I'm thinking, where do I want to put this pumpkin? It looks okay. In the end, I decide it doesn't need a pumpkin. And I go ahead and put this little tombstone up on some foam just to give it a little bit of dimension. And I figure out where I want to put it. So there looks like a good spot. And now I'm going to fuss around with this this cluster. There we go. This cluster up at the top. And I find the chipboard tombstone off of the Happy Haunting chipboard. And I like their chipboard because it's pretty thin. The only thing is it doesn't stick, so you have to put not washi tape. You have to put tape on the back to get it to stick. And I put a little bit of foam underneath the arrow so that I could put it kind of on top of the tombstone there. So I'll go ahead and get all of these elements down, and I'm looking to make sure things are straight. And here I take the backing off of this chipboard, but I can tell just by feeling it, it's really not that sticky, so I add some more glue to it, and I put some ATG on this little arrow and put my spooky arrow in here, and that pretty much completes my cluster right there. Now these two little word phrases, little die cuts, I'm going to use those up under my title here. And one says utterly spooky, and the other one says this is Halloween. But I don't need all of that is around it, so I trim it down a little bit, and I trim one side fairly well and the other side really wonky, so I have to do some trimming on that side. And I'm still thinking I want to use the pumpkin, so I've stuck it down in that bottom cluster instead of the metal piece. And one of the reasons why is because I'm thinking in my mind, how am I going to attach this metal piece? I'm not going to use a brad. I don't want to do that. I think that's going to stick up a little too much. Although what I end up doing, it ends up sticking up anyway. So there I'm trying to think, how am I going to attach it? So I think I'm going to put some ATG on it for it to stick down, but I'm also going to put some of my tacky glue on it. So the Scotch tape will hold it down, or not Scotch tape, my ATG tape will hold it down while the Scotch tacky glue dries. And I've had success with the tacky glue holding metal pieces to the paper. Now here's where it wouldn't have mattered if I used a brad or not, because I tie this little bow and I put it on top of the hole because I can't have just this hole. It just looks funny to me. It needs to have a little bow. So I'm thinking, well, how am I going to attach this little bow? Because that's a pretty deep hole. So I use my tacky glue and I just fill that hole up and then sit the bow knot on top of it. And I'm going to let that sit for a while so it can dry. And here I'm going to put my title, or not my title, but my date up here. And I put 09. That's not 09. It's from 2000. So I will fix that later on. But for now, I'm just using these Ellie Studio alphas and numbers. And then I'm going to put some gray enamel dots in all three of my clusters. And I'm going to write a little bit of journaling on my little tag down there. And it says, I had a lot of fun making all the tombstones for our yard. Finding all the funny sayings was the best. And it was. There are some really funny sayings out there to put on tombstones. The only other thing I'm going to do on this layout is put some black splatters all around. And I thought I was recording that, but I wasn't. I actually had recorded me getting stuff ready, so it was just the layout sitting there. And then I hit the button thinking, oh, now I'm recording, because I thought I had paused it. And I didn't. So here in just a minute, when I get finished with all these enamel dots, it's going to switch over to a layout with journaling and little black spots all over. And I just took some Distress ink and watered it down a little bit and used my paintbrush to put black splatters all over my layout. Well, that's going to do it. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope you're enjoying Scrap-O-WEEN and your October, and I'll see you tomorrow for Trick or Treat Tuesday. Bye-bye.